All right, so back at the airplane, I finally have this back crossbar, if you will, in place. And again, it's just held on with bogus nuts for the moment, but that's the ear part there. The bar comes across, and of course I got a duplicate on this side. You can see the block there, and you can see the spacers potentially on the back side of the block in there. And it moves freely. And then you can see if I roll this forward, you can see how it lines up basically centered on the hole. So that's good. And there's no play in this direction. So it's pretty solid. The block on this side is very close to the skin. It's not quite touching, but it's very close. And on the other side, I've got quite a bit more of a gap. And I'm okay with that because, like I said, when you roll the bar forward, the holes. So I got quite a bit more of a gap between this block and the skin, but I'm okay with that because when you roll this forward, you can see that it lines up even with that hole. So that's what I was after. And like I said, there's no play in it in this back and forth dimension here. So now at this point, I have to make up the linkage that's going to connect the ear, this ear here, through the bulkhead and attach to this assembly on the front side. And it's the same, of course, behind the co-pilot seat. I have to make up the linkage to connect the ear through the bulkhead to the bottom of the hook assembly. Now I have these forks. These are turnbuckle forks, which I will use. This will make up half of each piece. And I've got I have two more forks on order that are female threaded. And those two assemblies together will give me adjustment, a length adjustment, and I'll be able to connect those linkages that I just showed you. Now keep in mind, if you have to order something like this, these came from turnbuckles. I already had these, so I'm going to use them. But these two pieces have left threads. So the female forks that I purchased to mate with these, I made sure were also reverse thread. So just keep that in mind, that you can get them in either direction. And the length should work out. I've already taken some measurements, and the new piece that's coming, the female piece that screws onto this piece, that overall length should be just about right, so that when I connect them, between the linkages here, that should keep that back half of the ear perpendicular, and then as it comes across through the bulkhead, that should also be parallel with the longerons, roughly. So we'll see. Those are on order. When they show up, I will put them together. Oh, and another thing, you can see that there's no interference with the seat in this extreme rear position. It's close, it's darn close, but there's no interference. Okay, so like I said, when those parts come in, I'll put the linkages together and I'll make my connection there, and I'll probably go ahead and install all of this permanently. I got to put those white L brackets in here and rivet them, and then connect this to the back half. This here has to be connected to the back ear, and it's also got to be connected to the lever, the bell crank that connects up to the front latch. So that will probably be next, but while I'm waiting on that, I will move on to something else. All right, guys, talk to you later. Howdy, everyone. All right, as you can see, I've got the latch mechanism now in place. I've got that bolted in place permanently on the front where you see the hook, and also on the back here. And you might be able to see the spacers that I've got between the bulkhead and the block. One thing that I did do, let me go over to the other side. I did add a washer between the spacer. Actually, these are more like standoffs, I guess, but I don't know if I can show it, but between the aluminum standoff and the block, I put a thin washer just so there's more of a bearing surface rather than the edge of the tube standoff digging into the block. It lays against the washer, and then I put a thin washer on this side as well. So this is in. There's the other side. That's the pilot side there. And then I got the rest of the mechanism built as well. So there's the front latch that I have been working with, and then the push rod that goes back to the mechanism there. So the only thing that I'm missing still are the connections that will attach the hole that's on the bottom of the hook through the bulkhead to the ear here. And like I said, a couple of parts are on order. Once those come in, I'll complete that connection. And then it's the same on this side as well. The connection that goes from this ear through the hole to the mechanism on the front. And again, mostly held together with just temporary hardware, like you can see here. But it's done, it's in, it works nicely. I'm happy with it, so I am moving on. So the next thing that I'm working on is my throttle quadrants. I'm going to start working on this next, trying to figure out how to get this to work the way that I want it. So that's next. While I wait on parts, I'll fool around with this and finish up some loose ends when the parts come back. All right, talk to you soon.